Hey, man, you know, buying those wrestling tapes from the video store is how I got pretty much my full collection of the shit.
Sorry, y'all disappeared, so I got confused.
Oh, no, you're good. We're just doing kind of a cold open thing here, I guess. I don't know.
Cool.
I feel like
no, but I ended up buying like at least 20 videos from them.
Oh,
I remember what it is. They'd look it up and be like, yeah, what it is. They asked the manager, told them that if it doesn't have a rental history, sell it. So there was like only one or two that I wasn't able to get. And I was like, I'm surprised someone's actually renting that. That's not me.
Right. Yeah, I definitely got a lot of shit too for renting stuff repeatedly from the video store. Like I was semi-legendary at our local spot, Hometown Video, because they'd be like, you've rented fucking Return of the Living Dead like 80 times, right? And it's like, well, here's to the next fucking 80.
Here's the 81.
Yeah. Let's keep
we had going. A video buff right up the road from my house.
Oh yeah.
And remember they had these little circular tags you'd pull off the shelf. If the tag was gone, that meant the video was gone.
What's up, Michael? Thanks for christening the
Michael!
Stream. It's always a better stream when Michael McNally comes in to say hey. Yeah, we had Hometown Video. We had Top Cat Video, which I actually got banned from because my whole situation with my dad and his girlfriend and her son renting a copy of Vampire in Brooklyn. And then that all coming to a head when we were in there trying to rent Heavy Metal of all movies. And they told us no because he owed like $75 in late fees and he refused to pay it. And so they're like, you can't fucking rent here anymore. And I'm standing there with my hand full of tapes like, what? What? And then he starts yelling at me and I'm like, I've never fucking even heard of Vampire in Brooklyn. It turns out it's a good movie. We did end up locating the tape at her house. And since we got banned over it, I guess we owned it. So I did watch it a bunch of times just because why not? Video Directors was a good spot. They had lots of like full moon stuff and low budget horror that the other places didn't really stock. And then we had a lot of gas stations that rented videotapes. Circle K, they used to rent some tapes back in the day.
Safeway. I remember, Safeway and Albertsons they had good video stores back in the day.
We just had a little closet place that was in my really small town I grew up in. And I don't even know what name it had because the name had fallen off.
Well, there you go. It's just the movie spot, That's good stuff. I miss
Hey, Kitty.
Man. There we go. Our like ratio just shot up 100% for sure.
I guarantee it. Cats are like gold on the internet.
That they are. If we can teach that thing to do a TikTok dance, we're going to go viral, Brandon. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I think there's a lot lost with the constant everything at our fingertips with streaming. You appreciated movies a little more when you had to go to like some dingy fucking video store and rent them from some mean old lady looked like Bulgra from fucking Dark Crystal back there. Like, don't touch the arcade games. You got to have an adult with you. That was, there's just something about the vibe that laid on that I miss, the stale popcorn and the wooden shelves, that fucking wood panel siding. It's just glorious, dude. And that's kind of what this show, Classic Cutz, aims to capture. That's why we cover these films that we probably rented a ton as kids or had some sort of an encounter with at the video store. Today, we're going to be firing into The Hills Have Eyes from 1977. A lot of people sort of focus on Star Wars when it comes to 1977, but for my money, The Hills Have Eyes was the premiere release of the year. So we're going to go ahead and be talking about that today. But before we jump into that, we got to run that trailer, sip some suds, and get you guys a little bit of that flavor before we jump into the shit. So here it is. It's a long trailer. Spoils most of the movie. But I figure, you guys have had like over 40 years to watch it. So you should be fine.
Mister, don't take your family back in that area. The silver has been gone for 40 years now. Besides, there's nothing back in there but animals.
A lot. The old creep told you not to get off the road.
What began as a vacation ended as a nightmare.
I'll be hell to pay now.
What was that?
thought she knew what the world was all about. But nothing prepared her for this. The hills have eyes.
Oh, you going with my baby?
Get out of the way, bitch.
A mother fighting for her child loses it in the worst possible way.
I hit him with a tire iron and I split his face wide open. That was a bad mistake. I come back for you later, girlie. Why are you doing this?
The story of an American family who lost everything except the will to survive. Murdered, raped, burned, but not beaten. The hills have eyes. The story of one family's refusal to die.
I'm gonna get those animals.
The hills have eyes. A night of terror. A day of vengeance where no one was spared. No one.
Kill the babe! Kill me!
They fought back. Anything was a weapon. The family dog to the family car.
It's
The Hills Have Eyes. The most shocking, terrifying film you will ever see, by Wes Craven, writer and director of The Last House on the Left. The hills have eyes. The lucky ones died first.
Now, I disagree.
Well-
Last House on the Left was far more shocking.
Yeah, I mean
That
they
was
got
a crazy,
asses.
crazy fucking movie.
It is, you know, and basically the whole inspiration for Hills Have Eyes, or at least the what do you call it, like the impetus of making it, was that Wes wanted to do something a little more sophisticated than the greasy rape revenge that was Last House on the Left. I guess he pretty much wanted to make a fucking horror film that most people would actually watch, you know. And I think he succeeded with this. Last House is a little
Most definitely.
for most people.
It is.
Not a fun movie to watch, you know. I enjoy it a lot for what it is, but holy crap, is that thing a bummer. And I think The Hills Have Eyes approaches that level of sort of sleaze and exploitation, but it doesn't quite cross into
That line.
Yeah. You know, this was written, directed, and edited by Wes Craven. It was produced by Peter Locke, had music by Don Peake, cinematography by Eric Saarinen. It had special effects, what little there is in there, by Greg Orr, I think is how you say that, and John Fraser, and is released on July 22nd of 1977. So hardcore summer vibes on this. Part of me kind of wanted to wait till the pit of summer to do that, but my basement gets real fucking hot around that time, and I'm hoping I can figure something out. So I didn't think, you know, it was a good idea to cover something that feels sweaty as balls while potentially also being sweaty as balls. Maybe we'll talk about The Thing or something when it hits those months so that I can pretend that I'm cool, you know.
Speaking of sweaty as balls, I just put in my AC and I'm like the happiest man in the world right now.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. It's pretty chilled down here at the moment, too. I'm a bit shiny, but that's just because on account of getting off work. So this movie I have a lot of history with, but I'm curious as to your guys' history with it. Before we jump into that, though, it stars Susan Lanier, Robert Houston, Martin Spear, Dee Wallace, Russ Greaves, John Stedman, Michael Berryman, and Virginia Vincent. All right. Quite a decent cast.
Yeah.
About the only person I really know from anything is Dee Wallace, but a couple of those other old farts that are in this movie were in other movies. It was filmed in Victorville and Apple Valley, California. I was inspired.
Good old
loosely by
Victorville.
I've never been there. I've tried to spend as little time.
I
in
passed
California
through there
as
at one
possible.
point. Yeah, I passed through there at one point.
Right on. Is it pretty scary or is it just normal?
Back in the 90s, it just seemed like one of them weird California towns, and maybe an Oregon kid, it was just kind of like, it's just another big California town, but it probably wasn't.
Right on. I've traveled the length of California at one point with my dad. Can't say I'm in a hurry to do it again.
I don't blame
like
you.
it up
I
here.
don't blame you a bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
Papa Pete. Awesome.
Oh shit! Not often we see him come out here, but this is a classic.
Hey, can I ask a random question real quick?
Of course.
Is there a way to share this link to what we're doing right now?
Yeah.
So people can join?
The best way to share it would be for me to send it to you.
Well, you sent me the one earlier. I just didn't want to send someone the one that gets them on camera or anything like that. I was just thinking for like the chat room.
Right. Yeah, I'll grab that for you real quick.
Appreciate it.
So what's kind of your guys' history with this? We'll start with you, Josh, since...
Well, to be honest, I remember watching it once years ago and really didn't remember much about it. So tonight, I was telling you earlier, it was kind of like going through it for the first time, and it was awesome. I'll just say that. It was definitely not what I expected. I kind of didn't expect such a success survivor, story. But it was still, in my opinion, for 77, a well-told story. But like you said, it definitely wasn't Last House on the Left. They started going that direction, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more palatable than that.
Yeah.
I think it does.
That dog was the hero of the movie.
Oh yeah.
My money's on Doug, but I just have a soft spot for Doug. I don't know what it is. He's always been my favorite character of the film. I think just because he's such an unassuming guy, and as we get into this, obviously we'll break down a little bit more about why Doug is the MVP. But man, the dude just doesn't get the credit he deserves. And then the remake, they do a lot of work to drive that home even more. So, you're relatively new to the film then. This is probably your second viewing, yeah? Is it one that
pretty much, but
go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, it's my second viewing, or pretty much my first viewing. That's pretty much, may as well say that. Right. It's been so long that, it's one of those ones that I just haven't revisited. Like I told you, there's a surprising amount of classics that I have yet to see.
Well, again, like we said before we went on air, we're going to do our best to change that. We got a hell of a lineup this summer.
Yes, sir.
To your point, Pete, definitely that poster is pretty iconic. I love it for some reason. It's just Michael Berryman, but then in the background, you got the family like in the canyon with the campfire and everything, and it's just creepy as fuck. I used to have it on the back of my door for years till I got real drunk one night, tripped over a box of some shit or another, fell and just absolutely shredded the poster. And then I think I tried to tape it back together pretty drunk and botched that. So, it's gone. But I would love to get it again. Thankfully, nowadays, buying reprints of these old posters is pretty easy. So you can just buy the thing for like $10 on Amazon, put it in a frame. So that's what I'll be doing eventually. The bald guy on the cover of The Hills Have Eyes, I know his face, but don't remember his name. It is Michael Berryman. Like Pete mentioned, he's also in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and several other films. He was the leader of the henchmen Zonoids in the first Guyver movie starring Mark Hamill, which is an amazing fucking movie. Absolutely love Guyver. I'm pretty sure you've been in here when we've talked about it and the second one, Country. It is such a fun time. If you want like gory, weird Power Rangers, that's pretty much Guyver. Like if you took Power Rangers and combined it with like some fucked up Brian Usna movie, you've got Guyver.
Well, that live action Guyver was some of the corniest but most fun that you could have.
Oh, dude, that second one is awesome. And I think it might have been shot somewhere up here or in forest that's really similar to forests that we have up here. So every time I go to the woods, I always can't help but think of Guyver too, because man, did I rent that fucking movie a lot. It's probably one they made fun of me for at some point.
So is it me, or did Martin Spear have some like Sonny Bono vibes? I don't know why, but I kept thinking Sonny Bono every time I saw him with his porn stash.
Yeah, I got the same thing. Brother. Thinking back on it now, I didn't think about it until you said that, and I'm like, that's the vibe that motherfucker gave off.
Which is even greater that he's the one who saves the day at the end.
Well, Hold on, I gotta switch the settings here so that this stops fucking just covering Josh's face every time.
I don't care, bro.
Highlight a comment. I do though. You're beautiful, and you deserve to be seen.
Hey,
yeah, I feel you on
thank
those.
you, Mo.
Pete. I mean, there's certain movies from when I was a kid. I would see the poster art or like the cover art at the video store and just be terrified to actually rent it. Some of those lived up to the hype. I would say like this or Texas Chainsaw would have been movies that lived up to the hype. And then you come across shit like The Video Dead, where for some reason I was scared of that movie for years just based on the cover art. And then I finally rented it, and it's a giant hunk of shit. So, you know, you never really know. Cover art was pretty badass back in the day, though.
I remember my uncle having a bunch of old VHS tapes, and there was one, I think it's called Night of the Demon, that looked just so, oh my God, I gotta watch this. This big old demon on the cover. And then I watched it, and I'm like, it's an old movie, but
yeah,
like,
you're talking about OG
this...
Night of the Demon, singular.
Yeah, Night of the, yeah.
Big monster or whatever.
Yep, exactly.
Unless you're into like 50s schlock, it's gonna probably miss the mark, you know.
Exactly. To me, I would just remember as a kid, I'm like, this doesn't match the coolness of the cover that I just was looking at. All. And I remember it was one of those old Good Times video VHS boxes.
Yeah.
Night of the Demons, however, when you have the rest to that,
and you being into like 80s metal and stuff, you definitely need to watch Night of the Demons with an S.
Oh yeah,
I'll have to check that out. Dude, I just checked another one out, not to get off subject, but I just watched one called Black Roses recently.
Oh, classic,
bro. There's a certain part of, you know, it's all original music in there, what you call original, because at one point there's a scene where it's a car, and all I remember, I'm listening to the song, and I'm like, this is lyrics to Metal Health, and then all of a sudden they get to the chorus, and it's their made up chorus. Yeah. So they didn't even bother writing original music. They're like, we're just gonna use lyrics.
Royalty-free Metal Health.
Yep, exactly. Wish.com. Yeah. Can we have Metal Health? We have Metal Health at home.
It's Metal Help or Metal Healthness. I don't know.
Yeah.
Post meditating like fucking ice. Vanilla Ice would say, you know.
That cover art is the reason why I saw most of the Empire catalog back in the day.
To be fair, most of those live up to the cover though too. There aren't too many of those Charlie Band productions where you see the cover and then you see the movie and you're like, they fucking robbed me. But certain movies, much like old video games, they'd rob the fuck out of you, dude, and not even apologize for it. It was just part of the business, you know. Like Pete said, they had to sell the shit somehow. They had to get you to come into the movie theater. And in an era where, like, if you didn't catch the trailer at the movie theater, you were lucky to see like a TV spot or a radio spot. And that's if it was a bigger movie that had like ad money to put behind it. Yeah, that I Spit on Your Grave poster is a great example of that. It's just a lady's butt with her holding a knife, but then it says all this heinous shit around it. And like, oh, you know, there's not a jury in the world that would convict her after you see what they did to her. And it's sleazy exploitation ad work at its best, you know, because there's no way if you're a dude like any of us that you're not going to want to watch that movie after you see that poster.
When it kind of grabs you.
Yeah. And dude, I would do that too, Pete. And I'd be that kid that would chicken out like halfway up to the counter and be like, nah, I can't put that in front of the lady, especially if there was anything like, you know what I mean? Sort of suggestive on it, or, you know, like any hot chicks with big busts or something like that. I would be there and I'd be like, I want to rent it, but I don't want the old lady to fucking give me a hard time. So I'd put it back and just rent like fucking Transformers the movie or something again.
Good watch still. Yeah.
God damn, I miss the video store. There's so many modern conveniences I would give up to have.
Talking about that just triggered another memory, and I remember my mom going up to the video store and talking to the lady who owned it and signing a special thing, allowing me to rent rated R movies. And I was I was like, yes. Because they had a 5-movie 5 days for $5, or 6 for 6,
that's the business.
7 for 7, and I'd go up there every other weekend. Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, and just whatever it was I wanted to binge that weekend. And yeah, dude,
constantly.
Mine
those were good times. Good, Brandon.
Mine was a bunch of smoky corridors because the owner and all of the staff smoked like chimneys. So it was just constant, and they had horrible ventilation. So it was like,
just you and Pete are older than us. So that you were from back in the day where everyone was just giving you secondhand cancer every time you were trying to be a little kid.
But it was kind of, in a way, I guess you could say it was kind of creepy because you were just walking through the fog, seeing the scary posters and stuff.
I bet. It was kind of like from those first hits of Camel cigarettes, you know.
Yeah, that was
whether you liked it or not.
The bead curtains, and if you went by the wrong bead curtain, you'd be surprised by stuff you weren't supposed to see. But they didn't care, really. The 5-year-olds could walk back there and rent.
Yeah, they didn't give a fuck. If you just slightly angled your view, you could see right into the adult video section at almost every one of our local places. You know, I think they kind of wanted you seeing in there, weirdos.
I was unaware of that.
You know what is also kind of fucked up is couldn't you smoke in arcades back in those days?
Everywhere you could smoke.
That's insane, dude. I mean, I'm usually not one of those people that talk shit about like the way shit was in the 80s or whatever, but that
was weird though.
Pretty fucked up.
Oh,
like I smoke obviously, but I feel like shit if I'm like smoking next to someone that obviously doesn't want to smoke because they're not smoking.
I remember
it just feels like shit, and I can't imagine being in an arcade just playing Pac-Man or Dig Dug or whatever the fuck. Puffing fucking Marlboro Reds while some little asthmatic kid's just trying to play Dragon's Lair next to you.
Yeah. I remember trying to play the original Goonies arcade game back in the day at the bowling alley, and then some adult would come over there and call me over and then give me some money to go over to the cigarette vending machine to get them a couple packs of cigarettes. And cigarette vending machines are weird looking back then.
You know what's weird too is they make a big deal about the odd stuff they'll sell you in vending machines in Japan, but then when you think about the fact that basically everywhere in the world I think would sell you cigarettes in a vending machine at some point, it seems less weird. I mean, a pair of dirty panties isn't that odd if they're gonna just sell you death sticks out of the fucking thing. What you got going on here, Pete?
Well, that stuff disappeared.
Smoke everywhere in the 70s and early 80s. They only got pissed off if you didn't use the ashtray, which is understandable. Yeah. But I don't know, man. I like to think even if I was an adult at the time, I probably would have opted out of it just because it's fucked up to be like smoking in some kid's face. But maybe back then it's true what my mom always says, which is that I didn't know this would give you guys all asthma and probably me cancer. You know,
it was definitely a much different time.
Yeah, like you didn't know it was as bad. So maybe that's why a lot of people did it.
One of our favorite fried chicken joints, which, you know, all those old mom.
I do that on my coffee table sometimes, Pete. It's not a good habit. Go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
I mean, our favorite fried chicken joint, which was, you know, old diner that we had great fried chicken, but it became pretty much tobacco flavored because there was cigarette smoke all over the restaurant. There'd be times where the curtains would catch fire because somebody would come in there drunk and they would try to put their cigarettes out on the curtains. It was wild times.
Yeah, it's it sounds pretty crazy, and I'm glad I didn't really have to experience much of it. I mean, the most that I remember is like being a kid at like Sherry's, or I guess Denny's for you guys that don't have Sherry's outside of Oregon, you poor bastards.
Mm-hmm. We got Sherry's here.
Sherry's so much more top tier in my opinion.
I'm East Coast. I ain't got nothing.
Our Denny's closed, so we ain't got a Denny's no more.
We got a Denny's. They found a dead body there once. It was pretty cool. They kept it in a van for like a week because they were just smoking meth in there. So they all got charged with tampering with the corpse. It was crazy. At the fucking Denny's, dude, where you get a Grand Slam breakfast. It was so fucked up.
That checks out with like the Denny's story my girlfriend told me. I mean, not quite as extreme, but still the Denny's.
Thank You for Smoking was a good movie for that.
Yep.
I remember, smoking sections at restaurants. I do kind of remember people smoking in our bowling alley, and that's about it. We kind of, I think, how old are you, Josh?
38. How about you?
38. So 35. So
yeah. When we turned 21, when I turned 21, people were still smoking in bars.
See, and then when I did, it was already gone. So that shows.
Yeah, it was only like a couple of years of that going on. I remember the big deal. Everybody was like, "Oh, I got to go outside to smoke now." I'm like, and I wasn't a smoker. I mean, I vape now, but I wasn't a smoker. So I'm like, "What do you?" I ain't complaining, but I didn't complain about it.
You could argue, dude, that my view on it is largely informed by just the fact that it's never been an option for me. But I kind of prefer going outside to smoke a lot of the times. When I smoke like during a podcast, shit. Go ahead.
Oh, you were just saying earlier how, if you were around back then, you'd be doing the same thing. So that checks out.
It's just much more fresh when you're at the bar to like step out for a cigarette, kind of sobers you up for a minute, gets you ready for the next round to brews. I mean, I think I probably would have found myself doing the same shit, like even if it was an option,
Yep.
And then again, just smoking in some kid's face, I don't know, even without knowing that it was giving you cancer, it still just feels like a bad idea, like I don't know if I want to be blowing clouds of smoke in around kids,
Yeah.
Well, there you go, man. That quarter probably actually bought you something. You're old enough, Pete. That was like getting $5. I love you, buddy.
Man, inflation's a son of a bitch.
Kim's mother used to have her do that as well. We take over, not that low, but a couple of dollars to take.
You can't do shit with quarters now. Well, you come to the store, like if you go get another one, I can sell you a piece of Laffy Taffy. Yeah, that's about it. It's pretty fucked up. So we're approaching the 30-minute mark here. We should probably talk about this fucking movie.
Oh yeah. Well, I was going to say about my first time watching it, if you're good with it.
Please do.
This is my second time watching it, but this is my first time paying attention the whole way through. I'm not going to lie. I fell asleep halfway down the first time I watched it a couple of years back. I was a big fan of the remakes, especially the first one. I don't know why, but that first one was like gory and just really, I don't know. It was just a really cool slasher film. It was like everything that, what was that thing? Darn, I can't think of that one. That one film that Jacob hates, the series about the hillbillies in West Virginia that kill people.
Wrong Turn.
Wrong Turn.
It's like Wrong Turn, but doing everything right instead of screwing it up. So I was kind of looking forward to it, but I guess I wasn't quite ready for the pace that you would have had in the 70s. So I fell asleep the first time, but this time I enjoyed it. So yeah.
Well, I mean, that's good. I think for a 70s horror film, The Hills is paced incredibly well. I think, it does take it a little bit to finally get to where shit's like off the chain. And then there's like 30 minutes of the movie left. But the movie's like 90 minutes long,
It's very Texas Chainsaw.
And they do a lot more than Chainsaw, I feel, to build it up in the beginning to make you feel like, oh, fuck, there's something crazy is going to happen here. Whereas Texas Chainsaw, there's not in Texas Chainsaw, there's not a lot of like lore building that goes on before the shit kicks off. So it's just kind of like, oh, all of a sudden there's like these weird fucking mongoloids, that are mad at us. And they're eating people. This was inspired loosely by a real incident Wes Craven had when he was on like some sort of a motorcycle trip, I guess. And some rednecks shot like an arrow near him, and like a total Hollywood douche, he threatened to sue them. So they were like, get the fuck out of here, dickhead, or we'll like kill you and dump you down a mine shaft. And it, got his imagination going. Thankfully it did. Sounds like he kind of deserved it. And
that time he was
okay. That arrow could have came near them on accident, and the people could have been totally apologetic. And then he's like, I'll sue you. I directed The Last House on the Left. And then they're like, what? We don't go to the drive-in, you douche. Dump you down a fucking salt mine. You don't talk to us like that. So, I mean, if it was in the modern era of like social media and everyone having camera phones, we'd probably have a different perspective on this exchange. But I feel like Wes probably had it coming. Either way, I'm glad that they didn't dump him down the salt mine, because that means
we wouldn't have got the movie.
Yeah. It was also loosely inspired by the tale of Sonny Bean, worth looking into if you guys are into old like 18th century cannibal stuff. Apparently he was like some Scottish cannibal that had a legit cannibal clan that he lived with in a cave, and they were like brigands. They'd hop out on a path when you were like traveling in the old medieval times or whatever and be like, halt, you know, and then they'd
stand and deliver.
Yeah, some shit like that. On guard. And then they eat you. So that happened. Allegedly, that story was all faked as propaganda to discredit Sonny Bean and his clan. I don't know anything about Irish politics. I don't care. It's a cool cannibal story. That's what we're sticking with. And then it was also sort of originally proposed as a horror version of Hansel and Gretel, which I think is pretty cool. And there is some elements of Hansel and Gretel that still remain.
Most definitely.
The movie, like the two blonde kids and them being generally annoying and then almost getting eaten and then tricking the person that was trying to eat them into getting cooked instead. You know, that's sort of the whole ending with Papa Jupe and everything, and luring him into the fire or the explosion. Oh, Pete had a follow up. Yeah. That's crazy, Pete, that you were like buying your fucking brother-in-law cigarettes when you found out that John Belushi died. I think John would appreciate that, though. Country asks, are the deformed cannibals still the descendants of people that were exposed to nuclear radiation in the original, or was it just the remake? It's been a while since I watched the original. We'll get into that. It definitely is a factor, I think. It's more implied in this one. They don't directly lay it out to you that's what happened. But, you know.
I like that they
keep
keep
it heavily implied.
And I do think that there is something to be said about not knowing something. I think we talked about this before when we talked about the Halloween stuff on whatever channel we did that on. It had been a billion years. Sometimes it's better just having the shape be the shape.
Yeah.
And he's evil. We don't need to know that he was tortured as a kid or nothing like that. We just know he's evil. And that's all that it matters. And
yeah.
These are people
over
like
explaining rarely helps anyone.
That's really all you need to know. They kill people and eat people. Y'all shouldn't have been there in the first place. But you wanted to see that silver mine, Pops.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. Like when he went back to talk to the old man and like that whole story, I'm like, that you just kind of throw that in there to connect some unconnected dots.
I guess. I mean, it's, you know, I think they explain a lot in this movie without fully giving away all the nuance to it. Like Brandon said, it's sort of, you know, some of the stuff that's implied you can just let your imagination run wild with it. Yeah. I think when you over explain a horror film, you run the risk of coming across as sort of pretentious and like you think the audience isn't just going to get it from the hints that you drop. So you have to lay it out to them word for word. And then also just spoiling the fun of imagining different things that could be part of it. I mean, all we know about the movie when it opens is that there's this old dude named Fred that lives in the fucking desert, and he trades with this random feral looking girl named Ruby. Turns out her family's been ripping off, you know, local military outposts and shit. So, like, the desperation is escalating out here in the desert, and they're getting to the point where they're stealing from the fucking government. They're thinking about marching the National Guard up in here and clearing the whole place out just to see what they find. I mean, he says a lot while saying a little to this girl during this scene. And it's crazy good world building on the part of Wes Craven, you know, because without this guy just telling you that there's a mutant clan of cannibals in the fucking desert, he's actually interacting with one of them. Neither of them are letting it on because they're so used to keeping it kind of low key that even in their shorthand with each other, they're not explicitly saying that they're out there preying on travelers. That's also pretty much revealed in this first scene that Fred is, in the very least, a party to murder and, you know, highway robbery. Good old-fashioned brigandry, or whatever the fuck the English would call it. You've been convicted of brigandry. You will be now sank with corks until you'll either float or die, knave. You know? I don't know what they would do to this guy if he was Sonny Bean, but it wouldn't be good. So that's pretty much what we're introduced to right from the opening of the film. I mean, you guys basically are going into this sort of for the first time. So when you go into it, would you immediately assume this girl's part of a cannibal clan, or that she's just another desert dweller that's really fucking down on her luck and trying to trade with Fred? You know,
I assumed she was part of... Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I still gather it.
I assumed that she knew something, and the way he was talking to her, I'm like, okay, she's part of something, that whatever is going on out there. And I assumed maybe she was maybe someone who was... I got the impression initially that she was an unwilling participant in this particularly, or, potentially, excuse me. And as, went further, I realized she kind of wants out. But yeah, I definitely knew she was, part of something. But at the same time, I got the vibe that maybe she didn't want to be part of that something.
Yeah.
Right. That's fair.
I think maybe if it was the very first time where I hadn't seen the remakes, because I knew what it was about when I got into it. I think if I hadn't come into it with anything, I might have been a little bit confused about what was going on. But with this, I knew exactly. It was like, okay, well, she with the cannibals or killers. I don't know what they're doing, but they go a little bit over their stuff. And this dude is the person at the gas station, like Texas Chainsaw, getting them, bringing in the fodder for him to eat. That was my thought, is that this guy was in on it and he was going to direct people in there so that they could eat them like in Texas Chainsaw. I haven't seen the remake of Hell's Have Eyes long enough to know if there was a version of him in that was doing that, but
I feel like there was. See, I didn't even really touch on my first time with this because we got too into nostalgia talk and everything. No complaints. But, to summarize, basically my first time with this was like the third horror film my parents showed me. I saw Alien as my first because I snuck out while they were watching it on TV with my uncle and watched most of it from behind the couch. Then they caught me, let me finish it with them. And then I'm pretty sure they showed me Jaws as the next one. And they were like, oh, fuck, he likes this. This wasn't a fluke. Like, he's actually into it. This is all at the age of 5 or 6. So shortly thereafter, my parents ended up coming home with, like, Pizza Hut or some equivalent. We were still living in Canada at the time, so maybe not Pizza Hut, but in my memory, it's just pizza on the table, one of those, like, sort of octagon or whatever the fuck, hectagon, like, brown dining room, like, kitchen tables that people had in the 80s. So there's pizza sitting on that, and then videotapes. A couple of them sounded fucking boring, like the type of shit my parents would watch, but then one of them I read on the cover, The Hills Have Eyes, like in that type print that would be on the front of those black clamshell video cases. And just reading that, I was like, holy fuck, what is this thing? Like, I knew that they rented another scary movie to show me because they were so excited that I had liked Jaws. And man, did it not disappoint. But my mind was running wild the first time I saw this. Like, I had no fucking idea what it was. And I'd never seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre or anything like it. So I was like, The Hills Have Eyes. What does that mean? Like, clearly it's meant to be scary. My little 6-year-old cogs were fucking just working overtime trying to figure out what this movie could possibly be about, and so this intro with Fred talking to Ruby, it just like my heart's like like, oh my god, is there, like, what is this girl, why is he fucking talking about the army coming in here, what are they doing in this
the whole scene where the jet flying over the car, I was just like, why is everybody overreacting like this?
they were busting low.
I got jets flying over me. Why are you gonna gun the... No, I'd be hitting the brake and turning my fucking ass around.
Yeah, you'd think. Not just flooring it and eventually putting yourself on a collision course with a
crazy drunk 70s dads, I tell you.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I'm sure that wasn't coffee he was drinking out of that mug.
I don't know what Bob's fucking problem is, but he's one of my least favorite characters in horror history.
He really fucked this one up. Yeah.
So let's check out. We got a comment from Country right here. When I first saw this, I sneaked by, waiting for everyone to go to bed, and I was like 10, so I could watch the horror movies I wanted to see unbothered. Yeah, that was a common strategy for me as well as a lad. Mostly my parents didn't care. They cared about bedtime, though, and I did not recognize that. So you got to live those lawless ways sometimes. But pretty much after this, we're introduced to the city folks. I think they're the Carter family, and they kind of show up, and Fred's willing to pump whatever little bit of gas that he has for them, and kind of look at their engine or whatever. A telling part about the character of this family is this whole scene here with the dogs, where they just about bite Fred's poor little arm off while he's trying to pump their gas. And the mom, Ethel, just acts like it's no big fucking deal, which is a triggering thing for me because I was a postal worker for a lot of years. And almost every time someone tells you, oh, don't worry, he won't bite you, that's when they take a piece out of your ass. But you're also introduced to the rest of the family here. You got Bobby, you got Lynn, you've got Barbara, I think her name is. Let me flip through my notes here. And they're essentially just this family out with their parents for their silver anniversary, which I believe is the 50th one, right, Brandon?
Yeah.
So they're old as fuck. They've got several generations of kids here. The oldest one, Lynn, has married this really awesome Jewy guy named Doug, who is the best character in the movie next to the dogs. And they're fine, I guess, but you get little hints that this family maybe is kind of shitty, like any family is sometimes. They sort of just disregard all of Fred's warnings and head out into the fucking desert anyways, looking for this silver mine in a very dangerous part of the country because, like Fred says, the Air Force uses it as a testing range to drop their missiles and whatnot. And there's just all sorts of animals and dangers back there and people that you don't want to meet. And of course, Big Bob, being the dick that he is, just ignores all of it and takes his family right into harm's way. We're gonna wait until Josh gets back here to discuss further on this. But this is one of the
I'm here. Sorry.
Developed the gas station of doom trope in horror films. Texas Chainsaw also features something similar to that. Where it's like you're kind of being warned away from the situation by this doom harbinger. You could argue Friday the 13th has that as well because Ralph, I believe, does first show up right around the gas station in the first movie. So it's the gas station.
Restaurant, gas station, yeah.
I mean, these are prototype slasher films, really. I mean, they're not like... This is the slasher before the slasher had hard and fast rules that they all lived by. So they're all kind of still feeling... In my opinion, they were just feeling it out, They were like saying...
I agree, Pete.
We're getting that way.
Yeah. Or Richard at the least.
Richard would have been a nice subtle way of doing it.
I'd say it wasn't until Black Christmas that the real formula of the slasher really got fleshed out fully. But I mean, these types of films I think are great. I love these in between films. This, Texas Chainsaw, God, what was a lot of those Joseph Gordon-Levitt films, the Bay of Blood, things like that.
Well, I think Black Christmas actually predated this, didn't it?
80, I thought it was 80.
Black Christmas is like 72 or something crazy like that, which is what makes it even more historic, It was sort of ahead of its time while all these other movies were still kind of catching up.
74.
So okay, so it did predate it.
Crazy like that.
But Texas Chainsaw I think did predate that, but I can't remember when Texas Chainsaw came out.
I thought that was 74 as well. I could be wrong. Maybe 77
for Chainsaw.
Yeah, 74 as well. So so it's kind of still in that thing. So but it's kind of cool seeing even if they're then I would still consider this a proto slasher film.
Oh, for sure. And it's in that early run of I guess what you would say are modern horror films, I'd say Black Christmas is a modern horror film.
Oh, yeah.
That was if that came out 10 years earlier, it would be like some dorky thing with beehive hairdos and You know, it would be a totally different fucking thing. You know,
Most
the
definitely.
70s is really where horror became modern and started having a vibe of its own that wasn't tied to the drive-in shit and the Universal stuff that, you know, sort of paved the way for everything, I guess. I think that, you know, there's something to be said too about lack of communication between all these guys back then. Now, obviously, Wes Craven had seen Texas Chainsaw. He's a big fan of the movie.
Yeah.
He considers this in part an homage to Texas Chainsaw. And that's why there's actually even props in this movie in the like Cannibal Cave that are from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because the same set designer dude did both movies. So, you know, those are all intentional similarities, which I think is pretty fucking rad too. This is maybe.
Yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea. Like I said, I didn't do a lot of research like you did, obviously, to prep for this, but I had no idea there were props from Texas Chainsaw in this. Had I known to look for, I would have been like, oh, like Leo.
Well, now you do. You'll be able to go back and be like, holy shit, the guy that did the set dressing definitely did Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go back and watch it again after reading up on some of this.
Yeah, I was thinking Silent Night, Deadly Night. That's why I was thinking like 1980, which I believe probably even though it was like 80 something, because I think that one was after Halloween. But there's so many of these things, and these Christmas ones, they kind of run together for me.
I think where it naturally sort of coalesces in the formula of slashers being figured out is with shit like, you know, the first Friday the 13th, Maniac, things like that, where it's like, all right, we're in the 80s. We know how to crank these things out and make them nasty and mean and fun. And they were off to the races at that point.
Oh, they perfected the formula. That's the thing. The formula was like tried out. Black Christmas is the first one that fully used it. And then after that, they started to experiment with it with films like Halloween. And then once you got into Friday the 13th, movies like that, it just ran with it.
Yeah, that's where they really started being able to nail them down multiple times a year, you know.
Races.
But
we had a new release every year for a while.
Oh, several, dude. The first half of the 80s is fucking insane.
Oh,
you know, me and my buddy Dane were talking about it recently.
Well, it's meant like I meant a Friday the 13th, but yeah, it was like there was offshoots everywhere.
Oh yeah, and those dudes that were doing the Friday the 13th movies were involved in tons of other shit, like in the 80s. It's nuts. The only other era, I think, in terms of like original movies releasing every other fucking month that were all bangers and then a ton of cool shit coming in between that we've ever maybe had that rivals the first half of the 80s is like that first 5 or 6 years of the millennium, you know, where we had all those crazy big budget movies. And like Dane said, a lot of them still struck that balance between like CGI and practical effects. So they felt like big movies.
Yeah.
It's insane when you look at the crazy amount of good movies that came out in those short, like 5-6 year periods.
That's 70s, 80s, 90s. What a time for horror. Yes, indeed. I agree with that.
People forget about that bleed over into the early aughts, though. You know, like the first 5-6 years of the 2000s was pretty fucking sick, too. And then we had a real dark period where everything was Paranormal Activity or Blair Witch style, and it just fucking sucked dick.
Well, the early aughts, people discount them because the original Scream came out like at the end of the 90s, and people don't think of that as an early aughts film, but it really was, because it kicked off that new horror renaissance of the aughts, which horror was dying down in the mid 90s, and Scream kickstarted it back up again with these self-aware ones like that, and a ton of these other ones. Wes Craven was a big participant in that.
Again, I think, you know, for me, much like with Maniac or, you know, earlier shit in the 80s, Friday the 13th, for like early aught stuff, the ones I think of that sort of nailed it down was like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Urban Legend.
Urban Legend,
like that.
Yeah.
And I think those both might be like you're talking like tail end of the 90s movies, like 98, 99, but they really, you know, nailed down the pattern that several movies that we would enjoy would follow for the next 5 years, you know.
In a way, if you want to make a kind of correlation, those types of movies were to the early 2000s what movies like this were to the early 80s.
Yeah, for sure. They were the things that laid the groundwork for them to do what they would do for the next little while. And do it well they did.
You guys remember one from, I believe it's the late 90s called Campfire Tales?
Fuck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is that one where the guy's like, whatever you do, you never mess with an Indian? I think that's like his advice at the end of one of the tales.
The premise, I think, I can't remember that part, but the premise of it was they get in this wreck and their car's totaled, and so they get to the side of this road and they sit by the fire and they start telling scary stories while they're trying to pass the time.
Yeah, it's like an anthology movie, so it's like different stories the whole time.
It's like 3 or 4 different stories. I can't remember. It's like Creepshow.
Yeah,
it's like
I feel like at the end of one of them, I'm pretty sure it's Campfire Stories. At the end of one of them, the guy's like, I forget what the whole line is. He's, it's the most crazy non sequitur or whatever you call it. Like, he's just like, I don't know, blah, 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 but whatever you do, don't mess with an Indian. And it's like,
I don't remember that part. I just remember this.
Such a weird.
I just remember
for it to end on, especially with a white guy delivering, like that's all we did.
Maybe it is
for ages.
Maybe it is because I remember at the very end they find out that like there's this accident scene and they get up there and not to get off topic, but they're watching this accident scene realizing that it's them. They're like, oh shit, we're dead.
That sounds familiar too. I probably for sure saw it.
How did the car accident exactly happen in this movie? You brought me back to it.
That I don't remember, but all I can tell you is the first story was they were all urban legends. Is kind of like what it was, and the first story ended with the guy hanging over the RV with his wedding ring. And she hears that.
That
she
all
goes out
sounds super familiar, and I'm pretty sure that title sounds familiar.
Yeah,
maybe I'm misremembering the "you don't mess with an Indian" thing, but I think you're thinking of
Campfire Stories, which is a different movie than Campfire Tales.
Oh, okay, that makes sense also, because we used to quote it all the time in high school. Like we would probably not PC now, but we would be like, "Whatever you do, don't mess with an Indian." Like
there was the creep show. There was that creep show with the wooden Indian that was killing people.
Do they say that though? Like
this hair,
it's not a creep show because.
It's not creep show, but this hair is gonna get me paid and laid.
That's also true. You guys need to record some fucking music, dude, so that we can plug a song that you guys have right there.
We are in the process of fundraising for not fundraising, but we're raising our own funds. Is what I'm getting at by shows and t-shirt sales and all that, and we're in the process of saving up to do a proper studio recording. We got a goal we want to get to, and know what we need to do, and.
In the meantime, if you wanted to make like a fake live album, like
we got a live album. If you want, what I want to do is I need to split it into separate MP3s, but I'll get you some shit if you want to plug it. I'd love for you to do that.
Oh, for sure. You definitely need to get me those because I want to listen to them too. But
I'm gonna send you something tonight.
You guys should do like a Spinal Tap style fake live album, like Typo Negative did it with Origin of the Feces. It's supposed to be like a live album, but it's really not. They made it in the studio, like they just recorded the song.
That's Kiss Alive and Kiss Alive 2, which we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, but those are disingenuous. You know what I mean? Typo Negative did it as a joke. I'm pretty sure inspired by the Kiss Alive stuff. And that's what I'm proposing here is that Neon Chrome does like a badass, like the live album to end all live albums. And you guys just full kayfabe never admit that it's a fake live album. But we all know that because, you know.
Okay.
I think that fucking sounds awesome. I don't know. But definitely, send us those Neon Chrome clips, bro. What were you going to say, Brandon?
I was just looking at the comments as well. The Prophecy, yes, was really good at that stuff. And I also agree with Papa Pete. In about an hour, I'll be like,
good one, Pete.
But
oh fuck, this
I think I'm on the same time zone.
Hour after this, dude.
But
we're moving along through it here.
So what was it that caused a car accident in this film? Like
the car crash in this one is
tire thing, but
we'll get to, but before we get to that, we have to highlight the fact that pretty much right after they leave, you know that something's up because Fred gets stranded. Like, obviously, him talking to Ruby had pissed off whoever Ruby lives with, you know, so they end up coming in here and, you know, blowing up his truck, and he's just essentially left stranded out there as well, which I don't know, man. No part of me feels like this family's vacation is a good idea when they come to the middle of fucking nowhere, in the middle of one of the most hostile deserts in the Northern Hemisphere. And they end up fucking only getting $6 worth of gas and leaving a place like this, you know. But Fred's truck gets blown up and he's just kind of stranded there and totally fucked. You know,
and you can't tell me that. You can't tell me Dick didn't hear that explosion as he's leaving. They were way too close for that explosion to happen.
You would think.
And not hear it. But Dick
is. Think.
I'm calling him Dick now for whoever wants to go
his
back
name
to his
is
comments.
Dick Carter from now on. Dick doesn't know what the fuck's going on because, I mean, pretty much right after that, watching this clip, you'd think they were attacked by fighter jets and fucking rabbits, and that's why they crashed.
Bro, I was laughing my ass off. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
I was trying to figure out what the heck was crashing him.
Why would he?
Like nothing. It was just loud jets going overhead. And it's like, that's the military telling you to get out of here. That's all that is.
Dude, turn around. Just said they use it as a fly zone, like a testing zone. You know, so you wouldn't think they would be that surprised by the jets flying over. But then this shit happens. He looks at her for a solid second and then crashes the car because of a fucking bunny. What are you doing?
No, it was just
like you're so concerned about jets and all this shit. Like, why would a bunny stop you? You would just run it right over, right?
If I had jets flying over me at that point, I'm like, I just fuck you, bunny.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you know, I'm gonna have to hit you. And I love nature. I'm not trying to fucking hurt any bunny rabbits, but
no. But when I got jets flying over me, and you know, you got your if you know you got a daughter, so you know if you got a multiple,
I don't swear.
Obviously, this is a multi-generation family, obviously. So he didn't do any very smart thinking at all.
Yeah, this guy's made it this far in there and never had to make that choice.
And he's a cop.
Dude, I mean, for real, okay, full disclosure.
Long enough to retire.
I've hit animals. I've ran over animals. It sucks. I don't like it, you know. To my name right now, I have a squirrel, possibly a possum. That thing might have gotten away. I think I might have just dinged it. And then definitely a raccoon. And I'm not hyped on it, but again, like you just said, when you have family in the car, you're not swerving because of a fucking bunny rabbit. This guy's supposed to be a hardened cop. I mean, right after he goes on this horribly cringe-inducing fucking rant where he says some things that we absolutely would get flagged for. Whatever fake lie you were told.
Oh, good Lord, yeah. No, he dropped that. He thought the military was dropping bombs, but he dropped that one bomb, and I'm like, bruh.
He drops the biggest bomb of all, dude. The N bomb.
Straight up.
Hard R. Hard fucking R.
Hard R, straight up, man.
Right there. With no shame. What a piece of shit, you know? And we're supposed to feel bad for this guy. And it just, you know, he just swerved off the road because of a fucking bunny rabbit, and he tries to blame it on his wife and the map. Like, the whole situation was still salvageable.
It's like, bro, you're stuck in the 50s. This bro is still stuck in the 50s.
Yeah,
all the way in 77. Yeah.
Well,
I feel like most of that shit that he says in his rant was probably fake. Like, Bob probably worked mostly desk time during his service.
Yeah, what it is Bob got in trouble for unnecessary brutality and got put on desk jobs and ended up retiring out.
Probably. Somebody probably pulled out a fucking map. He totally lost his shit, and then a house cat walked across the street, so he crashed the car into a house. I don't understand how anything
I thought you were going to say he killed the cat, too.
Probably did.
He's got a gun! It's a map!
It's a map! It's a map! There's fucking 8 shots going to him.
And the cat comes out. Meow! Pow, 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 pow! Oh, God!
So now, that's
attacking me!
I do remember from the remake was that it wasn't this. They had a literal tire strip that they were using to do that. And then the dude was using the tire strip as like a weapon, like a whip or something. I remember that also because I thought that
let's not spoil all of it for Josh because he actually hasn't seen it yet. But
so
you aren't gonna spoil shit for me. Talk about all you want.
Fucking amazing. The remake is amazing.
I'm gonna give it a whirl. My next days off, which are coming up, I think I'm gonna get with the girlie and we're gonna watch that.
But wasn't around
some stuff too. It's a good, cannibal movies like this, Texas Chainsaw, even the Italian cannibal flicks are all good barbecue movies. Because
I'm gonna throw Cannibal Holocaust on at the next barbecue I have. Then
I would.
I know you would.
Cannibal Holocaust is kind of tame overall these days. It wasn't.
It really is.
Then, but it's tame these days.
I wouldn't say
compared to what
tame.
they're doing.
I would just say it's not
compared to what people, compared to the shock
stuff,
that people are, trying to induce now. It
It ain't
for me, I guess
that's for sure.
What got me for Cannibal Holocaust was the actual harm to animals that they did to.
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, okay, that poor turtle.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
Yeah, but they ate that turtle with the natives that they were.
They did. I did. I remember. Okay. I do remember reading about that.
For me, that's not that crazy. I mean, it's no different than if somebody were to rock up with us and we were like, well, we don't have any food, but I'll catch you a bass real quick and then we'll like butcher that thing and eat it.
That checks out.
I'd probably kill the thing before I chopped its arms off.
I forgot all about the whole story about them eating it with the natives because I remember reading that.
Yeah. I mean, those people do that. They eat those animals.
They got it. Yeah. You're hungry. You're gonna do whatever it takes to fucking eat. But
I mean, I might not fucking. I love turtles too, so this hurts to say, but it's like I'm not gonna hate on those dudes for like eating an animal that they normally would eat. It's people probably like chickens too. I mean, I had a pet chicken once. I love them, but I'm still gonna fucking eat a chicken strip basket.
Give me some fucking nuggets.
Sorry, bro, you taste good. I mean,
no, and I'm completely like wrong in that comment because I totally forgot that they actually went and ate that shit.
Well, in some of the other stuff they don't, though. I mean, but even like the fact that they shot, if I remember right, they ended up eating that thing as well. So,
but the fact that they got brought to court for all this shit, it's just like I don't know. It
obviously did something when a movie looks that real for the time, it's almost like good publicity, really, because. So I'm sure those Cannibal Holocaust guys were like laughing their way through the court because it's like we can prove we didn't kill anyone. So we're good. This is just going to sell the movie more.
This is a missed opportunity here.
Really is. I would love to see a crossover event.
Yeah. The Hills Have Eyes, the Cannibal Clan there versus the Graboids. I think that would work well.
Kevin Bacon's just pole vaulting from rock to rock, and then in the middle of one of the pole vaults, Michael Berryman also comes by. And
then
like, what
then you got to add in the background. There's Tom Cruise running. He's not doing anything. He's just running.
And then we'll just, for some reason, have Vin Diesel in a car, and he's like, "You never give up on family," and then he just takes off.
Yeah,
I think that's.
And then Forrest Gump stops and turns around and says, "I think I want to go home."
I just felt like running. I love that. This is maybe the best crossover that's ever been conceived. So we'll let you guys know when we have the GoFundMe up and going. So I do like that Graboids idea though, Country.
Yeah.
Country's
What's up, Jester Mikey?
Yep.
Yeah, baby.
No.
We're gonna have to get together, talk about some full moon stuff here soon, Mikey. A lot of things
I need to get on a stream with Jester Mikey one of these days. I've watched him, but I've never been fortunate enough to be on the same discussion with him.
It's pretty great. Guy's a legend. I don't think there is a bigger full moon collection that exists in the world outside of Jester Mikey's.
I mean, he's a part of the full moon collection himself, really. So
should be. They should definitely release a Jester Mikey replica. I think that it needs to happen. So pretty much at this point, the family's fucking stranded. Fred's stranded. And of course, the cannibals have always been stranded because apparently, even though they hijack all types of stuff from military bases and whatnot, they've never just gotten a car, moved to Fresno, and lived a normal life. They like this shit. So,
they do.
You know,
Hey,
everybody's fucking stranded. Go ahead.
Never mind. No, nothing.
No.
I don't want.
Never mind is never an answer that's allowed on.
Well,
say what
I was gonna say.
It
Apparently to them, baby tastes good.
It does. You know, old Mercury
Tenderloins with that one guy. Yeah. He's gonna make him laugh.
What's he say? Baby fat. You're fat. Fat and juicy. Yeah. Disgusting. Disgusting. I love it. So pretty much at this point in the movie, you know, everybody has decided that they're going to split up and go look for help or whatever.
All right, gang, let's split up.
As you do.
Pretty much. Bob and them, you know, end up taking off, or Bob takes off one direction. Doug, the only real man of the fucking group, takes off unarmed to the north, you know, to look for supplies or anybody that can him out of it as well. He leaves one gun with the family, lets Bob take the other gun. And it's at this point that Beauty escapes and ends up gutted. This is a rough scene for a lot of people in this movie because it involves dogs. But I feel less bad about it as time goes on. And I watch this movie because they're like gleefully reminiscing about how one of these German shepherds just ripped apart someone's poodle at one point. And then dumbass Brenda lets, you know, Beauty out and she goes up there and gets wasted. What do you guys think about this?
But the one that ripped apart the poodle is the one who's the hero of the movie. It's the dumbass one that gets killed in the movie. But yeah, I understand. I mean, personally, dogs annoyed me, but that's and I like German shepherds. That's the other thing. I love German shepherds, but for some reason, those dogs annoyed me.
The family just completely came across as, from the very beginning of the movie, is just, I don't even know. I don't want to say naive because you got to have common sense to. I don't know. No, I guess it's not common sense to be naive. They just, I don't know. They were very entitled, I guess, if that's what it is. Because that
entitled.
The gas station man straight up said, "Hey, don't do this 10 different times." And
and they just don't give a fuck. Like, you know, as far as you can see it right from that moment where the dog bites his arm off. When that dog almost bites his fucking arm off, and that old lady's like, "Oh, don't worry about it.
Oh, you don't bite."
Dude, I will tell you this right now. There is no moment, and I say this as a fucking white man in America. There's no moment
former mailman.
Exactly. There's no moment where you feel like the help more than when somebody's vicious fucking dog just about takes a piece out of you. And then they're like, "Don't worry about it. He just wants to play with you." What?
Fuck, he
like,
does.
I'm supposed to be in here doing a job, bitch. Like, I'm not here to fucking get bit by your dog. Put him in the fucking house, maybe, while I deliver the package. Do I need to fucking get gnawed on by your fucking German Shepherd? I don't think so. I'm not taking your fucking word.
Like, to me, like I said, I had a hard time feeling bad for the family from the beginning of the movie because of their initial.
The way Bob was talking, I was waiting for him to pull his hood out so that he could, go chase.
And then as much as those dudes become heroes, they're going through that guy's place. It's like, what are you going through his place for?
Yeah, what the fuck part of you feels like it's appropriate to wander into the back of a gas station?
Yeah.
Like, they just sort of overall treat that dude like shit, and then ignore his warnings that he gives them, and they get what they deserve for it, pretty much. They end up stranded in the fucking desert, and their dog is dead. And probably the biggest issue I have with the movie is Bobby not saying something for so long.
About the dog? Yeah, because that dog beaten fucked up with so many clues that they were in danger. He pretty much neglected to tell the family that we're in danger because I'm too traumatized from this dog to warn you guys of the fact that we're in fucking danger.
I've been at odds with this for years. Is it that he's too traumatized, or because he seems to wait for Doug or either Doug or his dad to get back?
He doesn't want the women folk to get worried.
Yeah, so he's trying to basically do his manly duty or whatever.
Yeah.
Outdated as it might be. Let's be honest. If he had told those chicks without either of those kids there,
they would have freaked the fuck out.
Gotten weird. Yeah, it would have gotten weird. Look at how they
reacted. At the same time, too, though,
like,
at that point
on the radio, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. The one girl at the end, she turns it around when she launches in with that hatchet at the end. So I got to give her props at the end of this. Though until then, she's basically.
Well, of course. I mean, but you know, at the end, that's obviously there to subvert this idea that's been established.
Yes.
I mean, the most violated woman in the whole movie ends up being the most heroic person for a minute. You know, largely the women end up being useless for most of it, and then two of them get killed, and then we're left with Barb. You know, so. And then she gets to have her redemption moment with the hatchet and everything. But, man, is it fucking... I identify more and more with Bobby in this movie the more times that I watch it. And I think he gives some of the best acting in the movie. When he's, like, trying to tell... Like, Doug gets back and you can tell he wants to, like, break down and tell him that Dee Dee died, you know. But he can't. Because everyone's all happy to see Doug, and I think he kind of understands that the situation's pretty fucking grim. You know, Bobby might be the first person in the movie that understands how grave the situation is, you know, and acts kind of accordingly. Doug acts accordingly through the whole movie because Doug is a treasure. You know, the guy just was too good for this family, I guess. But yeah, Bobby, I think, is doing what he probably should by not saying something, honestly. I think the only person in that group of ladies that could have handled it was Lynn, Dee Wallace's character. But she would have been drowned out by Barbara and Ethel fucking freaking out the entire time, you know. So Bobby kept it to himself until Doug got back. And then he tries to tell them, and I think that's maybe some of the best acting in the movie, is where Bobby's telling them that Dee died and the way he was, like, breaking up.
Hey, Doug got to get it on first, you know.
I love that Doug hears several warnings that things are going on, and he's like, bro, I just brought back a bunch of salvaged wire. I'm going to smash right now.
Yep.
I think I found, like, 4 canteens out there, bro.
Also very Sonny Bono.
A little bit.
Also very Sonny Bono.
Yes.
He was just short of hitting a tree from being Sonny Bono.
When I say this in the best way, Doug is like a more Jewy Sonny Bono.
Yeah.
You know? But his Jewiness is what saved him in this. I mean, it's his best quality. I'm not saying it disparaging.
No, it really did.
Dude came back from the fucking desert in an emergency situation, and he had like fucking a solid haul of salvaged army surplus goods and fucking found wire.
That wire got some nuts at the end.
I got some copper wire. Check it out.
Yeah, but in a totally non-tweaker way, this guy made a ton of money out there, you know?
Oh, dude. Most definitely.
Maybe there was some meth involved. I don't know.
It's the 70s. It was still called crank.
Well,
or some fine white powder. They were an upper class family, you know.
They were.
So maybe
he's retired cop.
Taking some
he had full access to the dad was a retired cop. He had full access to the evidence department.
Well, dude, Doug does kind of come out almost superhuman in the end, you know.
Yeah, he does.
So,
we're going on a vacation. I better go down to
and
evidence.
He looks pretty fucking coked out of his mind towards the end of the movie. So I don't know. I'm sort of leaning towards your hypothesis here that there's a little Colombian marching powder going on out there in the desert.
Oh, heck yeah.
Either way, though, Doug comes back. You know, they try to tell him about it. Doesn't really go anywhere. Bobby is getting pretty run down by this point because he has to tell somebody about this. And it just obviously isn't happening, you know, at the time. And then right when he's about to finally like, or right after he finally tells them is when they kind of light off the whole Bob situation. But to get there, we sort of have to look at some stuff that took place along the way. Because this movie is really good about layering the events, right? Like you have this sequence of events that's going on with the family while this sequence of events is going on with the cannibals. So, you know, for a 70s movie, this is paced incredibly well. Once the movie kind of kicks off with the crash of the car, there's constant stuff being laid for you. But basically, you know, Fred gets dead. That's what I got this clip titled as. They end up finding Fred. He's fucking hanging out there, you know. And Bob's like, "Get down here, you dumb son of a... Take that belt off your neck." I love that part for some reason.
In all fairness, Bob just walks into the gas station, just starts trying to raid the dude's phone.
And rummaging through shit.
Yeah.
And then, so he's lucky that he didn't get shot just for that.
But yeah, that's where they actually do background. But even then, the background, I will give it this. The background that they give the like crazy family isn't super detailed. It does its job. I didn't think it was too much. I think it was just right there. And seeing, and after hearing the story, seeing what the guy did to him with the crowbar is, in my opinion, his son's basically saying, payback.
Yeah.
Payback. Right.
To me, it seemed like the school project done the night before it was due. The story, like background-wise, on this whole thing.
Yep.
I love that whole sequence where he finds him in the gas station. You know, he gets the backstory on, I hit him with the tire iron and threw him out there in the desert or whatever.
Yeah.
It just builds that whole folklore thing. I mean, you know that the dude's been out there in the desert for like 30 years while this guy's gas station slowly became a, you know, nothing burg in the middle of nowhere, and he finally is getting desperate enough to leave. It's a cool way of like layering history to the thing.
I feel like he said like somewhere he found a whore and then they had family.
No, he says he talks about how, like, you know, he thought that he had died or whatever, but apparently he's still out there. And then Bob says something like some Scooby-Doo shit, like, "Oh, you think his ghost's out there still trying to track you? That was a long time ago, my friend." And he's like, "Long enough to find a whore that no one would miss and raise a gaggle of kids. Long enough for a devil kid to grow up into a devil man." Like, I love that fucking whole rant that Fred goes on.
No, that was a great rant.
And then Raid is
you're like, oh, this dude's raised a fucking maniac family in the mountains.
Pretty much, you know.
But to me also too, if you're gonna finish someone off with a tire iron, I feel like you know whether they're finished off.
Generally,
to me, it seemed like all he did was split this dude's nose.
He smacked him in the face with a tire iron, and then pretty much pissed out and thought that he would.
I smacked him once, and he's dead. God damn it!
Well, he wasn't sure one way or the other, but he's like, "Yeah, but the desert will finish him off."
Pretty much, and obviously didn't work out.
Apparently, the dude married and reproduced. Like they live.
So, you know, as we saw in the clip there, old fucking Fred gets yanked out the window. Eventually ends up pinned to an outhouse door, which I feel like has to be a reference to Friday the 13th.
That's a very Friday the 13th reference. I got that same vibe.
Or I mean, you know, Friday the 13th was referencing that when they did it, because you know, that's like 3 years.
Well, yeah. No, when I saw that, I'm like,
the way he swings out, it's like perfectly a Friday the 13th.
He's on it. The look on the face, it's just, you know, the dead look, I should say.
Oh, the killing's just excellent in this, because by the time we get to this point, there's a lot of BSing going on in between all this. I'm trying to serve lunch out there and all that, and exposition that's not really needed, like the poodle killing thing. It's I don't know. I'm kind of glad it gets to this point, and then things just start really hitting up, which is great.
Yeah, I don't. Like I said, I had a hard time feeling bad for the family, and all of a sudden, after a while, I'm like, all right, things sucked enough. These people need to redeem themselves.
Well, they really don't, but Doug does. Bob ends up getting got because Bob's just an old man.
Bob's Dick.
Racist man. Yeah. So Dick goes down in the desert and, ends up getting stuffed with a cactus and crucified on a Joshua tree and lit on fire, which apparently they did not know was severely illegal to do in California. So, the tree they burn is an actual...
they probably paid more for the tree than they did for the whole budget of the movie.
That might be true, actually. It's pretty fucked.
Those are cool trees, though. I mean, I've actually been out to the desert and seen some of those, and they're really neat.
I remember I had some family who lived in Lake LA, and we go down and visit them, and I always thought my dad was just telling me some tale that they're called Joshua trees, but apparently they really are. Because the U2 album that unfortunately exists.
I think the trees might have been named before the U2 album.
I know, I'm just, saying. I always thought it was a joke that they were Joshua trees. I'm like, okay, they really are. Okay. They are damn cool looking trees. If I'm going to have a tree named after me,
and
that'd be the tree I'd want, I think.
The desert is an excellent scene for these types of things. I remember Brad Sykes. I don't remember whether he told me this, whether it was an interview, whether it was his book, one of those things. But he had mentioned, like, he considers the desert like one of the best characters that he can have in a movie. And I think that's true. I mean, it's out there in the middle of nowhere. You got the isolation. You got plenty of crap going on. You got the critters, like the snake they use at the end. Lots of pretty cool stuff.
And if I can bring up a comment, because I just a while back was able to switch over to comments. Country Shape Media says, I think the old guy and the cannibals used to have a deal. They kill the victims and eat them. He gets their valuable jewelry and stuff. But the deal ran out. Cannibals decided to kill him too. And that checks out because remember when he dumps out that bag of the old guy's stuff. It's just got dollar bills and it looks like someone's junk drawer.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of confirmed that they kill him because he was going to run away and take Ruby with him. It's basically he was their main source of trade to the outside world. So if he's going to fuck him over, especially being that he's the one who put them in that position, then they're going to take him out.
Thus blowing the truck up in the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and then eventually killing him. Because I don't know, maybe it's something too that really this is one of those movies that deserves to be watched with headphones. Because there's so much whispering and like crazy subtleties to the audio design of this movie where they're doing the animal calls and like, luring them out or whatever.
I won't gonna lie, I heard them say something about the lines of they do these calls perfectly. I'm like, I haven't heard them do one call, but probably because I was watching with other shit going on.
Yeah, if you listen to it with like on a good speaker system or like with headphones, it's amazing. The creepy fucking sound design of this movie.
One of the family members say, they can perfectly mimic the dog. How do you know it's really our dog? Because the dog leaves.
That's the part that got me thinking.
Yeah, steals one of the walkie-talkies and comes back with it. And
they do lure Bobby out of the camper at one point, like to launch the whole attack with.
Because that's why he went running up the mountain.
Yeah, they know how to mimic any animal, and then I love how they toy with them at the end. If you are able to hear it, or once they get them out there, they start doing like sheep calls and different animal calls just to prove that it was them doing it.
Yeah,
it's sinister as fuck.
No, most definitely. No, like it's what you guys touched on about a while back is that it's one of those transitional movies that are still getting their grounds on what these kind of movies are supposed to be, but it was easy to follow and it was easy to watch.
Oh yeah, because it's basically all building to that point where they finally kick the fucking thing off, and the cannibals assault the family, steal the baby, and the last 30 minutes of the movie is Doug going to get the baby back while the kids basically deal with Papa Jupe. It's brilliantly done and paced, I think, especially.
I'll tell you right now, the one thing I wasn't expecting was so many survivors.
Well, yeah, the very first, this first raid, you did lose. Actually, you didn't lose anybody, really.
Dumb and Dumber right there.
Except for the mother of the baby, but that was about it. Because she died. Yeah. But everybody else survives that particular raid. I mean, I don't count.
Well,
I wasn't expecting that.
The mom, Ethel, is fatally shot. It just takes a while for her to die, and they end up using her as bait at the end to lure in Papa Jupe. So, basically, this decimates the family, and it puts them on the same level because at the same time, if I remember right, Beast is able to kill Mercury, who is actually Peter Locke, the producer of the film.
He knocks him off the cliff, right?
Off the cliff, yeah. So, it puts them at the same level. Like, there's 3 of them.
And now we eliminated one of you. You're not completely invincible.
Yeah, and I mean, factoring out the mom, who her only role is to be there and deliver some cool lines at one point. You have Papa Jupe, you've got Mars, and you've got Pluto. So 3v3, baby. Like a really good, ball hockey match or something. What are you guys' thoughts of that whole sequence where everything just goes buck wild?
I thought it was about time. I'm like, it's about time the family start showing some common sense that they can act correct under distress.
Yeah, I like that we're finally getting some real action in there, that it's finally going to heck, and it really does turn the movie's pacing around after that point. I think the movie picks up pacing slowly, but then once it hits a run, it just goes at it. It slows down to a brief jog after this, but it picks up again pretty quickly after that with them, of course, abducting the baby and, and then the family trying to figure out how to get the baby back. But I think it gets up pretty good as far as that point on.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I mean, I think from here on out, the movie is very focused because it really is like the last 30 minutes of the movie after this point.
Yes.
Doug pretty much sets out to get the baby from, the people that took it, while the kids are left to deal with Papa Jupe. Like I said, they've kind of got to do like this elaborate Hansel and Gretel booby trap to their trailer, filling it with gas and matches and all that shit, to hopefully blow him up. I think they end up still having to shoot him, which...
Yeah. I had a moment where I didn't think he was going to fall for it because he kept being hesitant about opening the trailer door and all that. I'm like, he's too smart for this. He's the one that's been out in the desert the longest.
So now
What's up?
Actually, it was them mimicking Bob. That was what, that's what really got them all out. And
yeah,
I mean, and it made sense. And at first, even I was fooled by it. I was like, well, how the heck is he calling? He's had his head stuffed with a cactus. But they're just that good.
One of the only scenes that I could not pull footage of because the last time I did a Hills Have Eyes video, they absolutely copyright struck the video because of it, was the whole sequence where after they burn Bob, and Papa Jupe thinks that they got the whole family. but it turns out Mars and Pluto fucked up by not actually killing the people. You know, they were supposed to kill everybody in the RV that when they got back with the supplies, they could just celebrate and eat the baby. You know, and there's really, I love that scene because it's got like some cool family vibes between the cannibals, you know, until it gets dark again at the end. But, and there's a couple other scenes of that, like where Ruby is, and I actually did capture footage of that, but trying to get ready for tonight, I forgot to upload it. But Ruby pretty much is like eating Beauty while Beast is out there howling.
Yeah.
You guys remember that part?
What,
And then
you
the
don't
mom
like
comes
dog?
out and she's like, "Oh, big stud. You know, if he's out here, that means he's not with them." You know, and it's just so sinister the way that it all fucking plays out, dude. So well written. Bless you, Wes Craven. You know, that's so much better than Texas Chainsaw. I don't care what anybody says. You know, holy shit.
No, it was definitely more. I don't know. Maybe I'm just buzzed a bit, but maybe I felt this was more personal.
Yeah.
This guy popped
Like
in
it gave
just to say that he loves Oingo Boingo, and I am behind that. Thank you for letting
That
us know.
Shrunken Heads video was awesome.
Thanks, man. It's one of my better reviews for sure.
I still need to see that movie all the way through.
And then Bone Tomahawk.
I need to jump.
Rule.
I need to jump in more of these because you guys got some awesome people in here coming in, saying some awesome stuff.
Oh, for sure, man. You're always welcome,
dude. For sure, for sure. But no, dude. Like I said, watching this movie tonight, it's pretty much the first time I watched it in my, you know, as far as I'm going to consider, and it was a very easy watch, good watch, and I don't know. I definitely would recommend to a friend, and I'm going to watch it again.
Oh, for sure. For me, The Hills Have Eyes is like a yearly summertime watch.
If
you know,
if it gets
same
out
thing
to
with
my
Texas Chainsaw, they're just sweaty.
Once you
gross.
upload this, and my guitarist sees that I haven't watched this movie before, really, other than, you know, one time years ago. I'm gonna get my ass kicked. Dave's gonna be like, "What the hell?"
Well, dude, what do you guys normally stick to subject matter for like Neon Chrome songs? What's kind of your?
Oh, well, a little bit of everything. Honestly, we've got songs about. We always. So you're familiar with Friday the 13th Part 8, right? Jason Takes Manhattan. Yes. There's that part where he's walking through the city and those dudes are living in the city ain't no big deal. Living in the city ain't no big deal. Anyway, I wrote these lyrics and we wrote this song. We're like, we need a name for it. And it's pretty much just the song's going on about anything. It just sounds cool. And we ended up calling it Living in the City.
Okay.
But Dave, my guitarist, wrote a song about Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. And we call it Love at First Bite. He wrote another one called The Wolfman, which I ended up helping him with some of the lyrics to that. Not very much, because he wrote about 95% of it, but it's obviously about the Wolfman.
Nuts. I mean, it's nuts that we haven't been doing more with you.
Bro, for real. We got another one that I wrote about Freddy Krueger, and because they gave me this riff, and I'm like, what am I going to do? This whole band thing to me, it's new, where I'm like, okay, how am I going to write lyrics to this random music you gave me? But I started listening to it more, and one of the first ones that I wrote that they gave me turned out to be, I called it 1428 Elm Street because that was Nancy's address.
Oh, yeah.
You guys got to see his Nightmare on Elm Street display one of these days, too.
Oh, we'll do a video one of these days, Mo.
We have to.
I got the Nightmare on Elm Street in a coffin, and then I got my Friday the 13th shelf in a big canoe.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, you go to regular wine tastings with Adrian, don't you? Adrian King.
Oh yeah, no, she's not to like be like, oh, yeah, but no, she's a close personal friend of mine. But
dude, yeah,
the wine
we
thing
live in
isn't the
Oregon,
wine thing.
and
The
she
wine
has
thing.
a
The wine thing is
winery in Oregon. We have
it's
to.
not a thing. It's not a thing anymore. The winery. She's not doing that anymore. But she was just at the recent Medford Comic Con, and like I said, I try to keep in regular contact with her. I message her every couple months at least, and be like, hey, how are you doing? Da, 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 da. But no, man, I was very blessed to become close with her like that, and it was cool because the whole way it happened is Dave, my guitarist in my band, and another friend of ours, and we went out to this showing of Friday the 13th out at Valley View Winery. It's in the, where, you're out in the middle of, and I don't know if you're familiar with Valley View, Mo, but it's out in the back roads of Applegate type. Yeah, we're literally sitting in the grass. There's this big old projector screen up, and we watched Friday the 13th, the original movie, on a projector screen outside. And that's after meeting Adrian and doing all that jazz. And it was the perfect setting because, like I said, the sun's going down. It's dark. You're seeing silhouettes of trees and all that. And then the movie starts. It's perfect, man. But
that's got to be like watching Jaws in that pool. That's just like really cool.
I don't know if I could do that, bro. I had too many dreams of sharks and pools as a kid.
I can't.
You
I
couldn't?
already know I can't.
I'd have to do that. That would be awesome.
I'd be that poolside bro with my feet maybe in the water, but
I would have put my toes in.
My feet are in the water on the edge. So if you guys start getting attacked by that random pool shark that we all think is there, I can just move. Yeah. Because we all, dude,
shit.
Okay, let's not be fucking pussies about it.
No, I ain't gonna lie, dude. That random pool shark, that random
shark.
Pool shark could be there at any time.
It could.
38 years old, I started dreaming.
Dude.
I've been dreaming about that fucker since I was like 7.
6.
And
yeah,
he's real.
Pool shark. How has no one done that? Is there a movie? Is there not a movie called Pool Shark?
Yeah. There is a movie called Pool Shark. It's a horrible movie, but it's a movie.
Wait a minute. Is it about some guy or is it about some guy with a New York accent who just beats people at pool every time and rakes in the cash?
It was a movie about this shark that could materialize in swimming pools. There was some sort of weird possession thing going on. Some dude with a crush on him. It was the sci-fi movie of the week. It was.
Did it play it at all off that phobia though of like? Because we all have it, dude.
I remember a dream I had where I watched a shark come out of my buddy's
swimming pool at night if you didn't have like pool lights?
Because no, dude, there could be that shark there.
Oh yeah, when you can't see what's under your legs.
Your pool at night is like the ocean. You may as well be in the ocean.
Yeah, and it's fucked. And dude, I love fishing. So I'm out. I mean, I've fallen in water recently where I couldn't see the bottom, and immediately pool shark images were like in my head. Like, there's a shark. There's something that's gonna grab me. Oh my god! I gotta get the fuck out of here. You know, like I'm gonna die if I don't get to shore in 30 seconds. Yeah, it was the worst.
That's something that never goes away, Mo.
So we got this to where they finally take the fight back to it. Yeah, Ghost Shark is another one like that. They finally take the fight back to the family, setting all those Home Alone style traps, and Sonny Bono goes up to get because the boss guy is like, kill the baby, and he's like, no, don't kill the baby, and the woman decides she's going to change her mind and abduct the baby so that they don't kill it. Because she's actually the good person all along. So, you know, even though she's probably been killing and eating people too, but, you know.
No, I get it.
I didn't really grab footage of the finale because we're going to describe it, and it's probably the only thing of this movie that might still be new to some people. So.
And that we can describe in that detail, I guess.
Yeah, I love the Home Alone traps that they get the...
Dude, the whole rope thing, when he starts getting dragged, I'm like, that's some Joe Pesci shit right there. I'm just hearing Joe Pesci, why you little, I ought to take you and I'm going to.
Well, I mean, I love how they wire the camper to blow up. But that dude must have, because he set fire to that one place already, So he probably recognized a fire trap when he saw one.
That's
So-
what I was saying earlier. I'm like, he's not going to open that door. He knows, but he didn't know, or they ran out of money to film the movie, so they needed to end it.
He came back and he set it off, but he went off to a distance.
He obviously survived.
Yeah, he went off to a distance where he would survive so that he could draw him in. But they didn't know that little girl would go psycho with the hatchet and start hacking away at him.
Exactly. He wasn't expecting her to be alive.
Let's see. The hunting hour, huh?
Which is true because, if you watch that scene where Papa Jupe is like questioning the family, he's like, you killed everyone, right? Those dudes fucked up. That's the whole reason that the events of the movie happened.
Oh, yeah.
If they hadn't, they'd just be eating their bones and, I don't know, like enjoying all of the stuff that they left behind. Because, Papa Jupe, when he meets them at the cave, he fully thinks that they have killed everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
He gets mad when he finds out the truth, which is why he goes there to finish him off.
Yep.
If you want to do
one
a
of
job,
my favorite parts of the God, sorry.
I mean, you want to do your job, you do it. You got to do it yourself. I mean, that's just how it is. And then the dog finishes off the other guy, which
that was to me was justice. That dog was like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm a dog. I get I already got the handicap of people are gonna sympathize over me more. So you know what? You're done. And real quick, Highbrow 23. Maybe we'll do a Puppet Master song. I'm not sure.
There's some serious shark discussion going on in the comments.
Oh shit!
I know. I've been watching. I'm like, it's like Shark Week up in this motherfucker.
I've not seen Ghost Shark, but I'm pretty sure Brandon has.
Oh yeah, that one. Back when I was more into Cool Duder, I had to see it because he was in that, and he got killed in it. So I guess I still see it. So
most definitely.
It's a fun movie. Ghost Shark is a fun B movie. It is.
I'll have to check it out. I mean, I come from a lineage of people being my dad who he loves that. What's that movie? Rubber with the tire.
Yeah.
My dad loves that fucking movie.
I still need to see Rubber. You'd think that'd be a movie somebody like me would have watched immediately, but
also in the desert.
Even at the time, I was like,
yeah, I was gonna say it takes place in the damn desert.
Now, Rubber is different, though, because Rubber is a B film in a lot of ways, but it's an art film in other ways. So it can turn off some of the people who like to watch trashy stuff, but it can also turn away the hard house people. So it can offend everybody and please everybody at the same time. So
those are my favorite kind of movies.
An actual thing, though,
Yes.
like it's not just some cheap, dumb thing to appeal to people like us that like cheap, dumb movies, but at the same time, it's not, just.
You're making me think of another random movie that takes place in the desert called Thirst.
Ah, good one, yeah.
That whole scene with the homemade lobotomy, I was just like, okay, you got me.
I haven't seen it, but that's why this type of stuff rules, dude.
Oh, I've watched videos of real stuff when I actually was doing my studies for my job. I actually got to watch videos of real ones being performed, and that stuff is disturbing as all get out.
Oh, I'll believe it, man. I'll believe it.
You have a head that's ripe for a lobotomy, though, Brandon. Like, you got that nice round noggin.
Hey, look at this guy. He's like, I'm
a good shine. For a movie scene, anyways, your forehead would be perfect for a fucking lobotomy.
It's got the scar right here, and it's like boom, yeah. But that was actually a pretty cool ending. I love the scenes where you've got the family doing it, and all three of them. The dog basically ripping the one dude apart, just like he did that poodle. Then there's the blonde twins as they do the Home Alone thing to the main one. And then Sonny Bono coming out, working with the girl who kind of turns traitor on him to take out
those blonde twins, man. Too, they feel like they would be in like an episode of Johnny Quest, or like they'd be sidekicks of Space Ghost for a while or something. Like they're so 70s, those blonde twins, right?
Very.
And the way they cast them is like perfect, where it feels
What
like
they
that sort of. Go ahead.
Oh, I was like. Finish what you were saying, and I'll go ahead.
Well, it just feels like they perfectly put them in there to be those sort of nymphy 70s blonde kids, you know, that you recognize from other sorts of media at the time, like again, Space Ghost or things like that.
Yeah. No, to me, what cracked me up at the end is we were talking about the dog and the poodle and all that. There's a scene at the end where everybody's like, you know, oh, we're good together, we survived, and they're hugging. And all of a sudden, it closes in the dog, and the dog's just like, remember, I killed that poodle, right?
Like, we haven't forgotten. That honestly is one of the more unnerving scenes of the movie, where they're like having like a fun conversation while they eat. They're having the same sort of like fold out table picnic any of our families have had, but they're talking fondly and like nostalgically about how this dog had killed a poodle at one point. It's fucked up.
No, you know? It was very just. You
can't help but feel that they owed them at least one dog.
Oh, that dog! I thought that dog was going to turn traitor and actually join the bad guys for a little while, but that dog just was going like he was just going undercover so he could steal their walkie-talkie.
Well, the first dog just got wasted.
Yeah, I'm talking the devil dog. That dog just like
he's a devil dog.
Yeah.
Beast is a cool character, and I get why a lot of people give the dog a lot of credit for the movie, because it does kind of have the body count where the family's concerned. But I don't know, man. I mean, I find as time goes on, I root a little bit more for the cannibals when I watch The Hills Have Eyes. Like, this family.
I know what you mean.
The family's not likable, so it doesn't help. Except for Doug. I don't know why. I like Doug. And
Doug's a good dude. He's compassionate. He's thoughtful. Like, at no point in this movie, and you can see it in the dude's performance, like, he gets unhinged levels of upset. You know, but the guy that was playing Doug kept it together the whole time. Like, he always managed to collect himself and check on someone else.
Except for that ending.
Like, even when his wife is dead and his baby's missing, like, he checks on Virginia Vincent's character, Ethel. You know, he's like making sure that she's good. You know, Doug is the best person in this movie.
The biggest thing is like when he lets it go at the very end and he's stabbing the heck out of that dude. He's making sure that he's dead. And I gotta give it this. She takes that rattlesnake, sneaks up behind him, and basically has that snake bite the dude on the back of the neck. That's cold. But dang.
True. But she's also of the streets, you know. Ruby is of the desert like these people. Like, she knows.
If anybody knew how to pick up a rattlesnake like that, it'd be her.
They didn't be trained like that young.
I like, if I was to switch it up just to make it a little more tantalizing, I would have had it be like Bobby that picked it up or something, just because Bobby seemed like he knew what was going on, much like Doug. Like, once, you know, shit actually got real, those guys collected themselves surprisingly well, you know.
That's another thing that surprised me, is how they came together very well. I guess that coincides in my whole thought of how did all these people survive. I guess because they collected themselves better than most anybody else who would be running through the woods and trip on some random stick and fall and get mauled.
So speaking of surprises, didn't you feel like, I don't know, I felt like the ending came just abruptly, like right after that. Like, oh, okay, all the cannibals are dead. Credits.
Well,
it was a very quick ending. That also caught me off guard. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess we're just showing everybody's picture now.
You got to remember, back in those days, like, salacious shit would drive talking about a film. So if the movie just ended and made people talk about it, you know, obviously it's going to become like a water cooler thing or whatever. It's not like nowadays where people expect, you know, a finite ending and then like 3 scenes after the credits or whatever.
You could have like a discussion with some friends. I was like, "What do you think happened to them people? You think like Doug just took the cannibal woman, like hooked up with her, and, you know, made her his new wife or something? You know."
Well, as we know from the sequel, she ended up becoming, you know, Ruby ends up becoming the head of like a motocross team that goes out into the desert and ends up getting stuck in the same way.
I have yet to see the sequel or the third.
You guys are gonna fucking love it.
Same
Ruby's
here.
a motocross trainer in the sequel.
Actually,
how the hell?
There's 3.
What in the cocaine is going on there?
Yeah, insert 80s metal here. You know. Okay. Whoa!
I've had a ball tonight, gentlemen. Just so y'all know.
What's that?
I've had a ball tonight. Just so y'all know.
I hope so.
Oh, cool,
I hope
cool.
you're willing to come back for more of these because definitely we're gonna.
I want more. Yeah, no. Like I said, we need to discuss the next 3 Kiss albums.
That for sure.
Rock and Roll Over. I can't wait because
Guar albums.
Exactly.
A couple Alice Coopers.
Yeah. Oh, you get Alice Cooper. I'll be like right there because Alice Cooper was the jam for me.
Love it. You can't talk about schlocky, like over the top, you know, theatrical metal without talking about Cooper. Alice Cooper.
I got a story about my grandmother and the song "Dead Babies" from when my father was young, during the time that was actually new, and it is hilarious. I'll have to bring it up when you get up.
I'm in the weird minority, like just like Aerosmith. I love Alice Cooper from the '80s more than I do the early stuff, but that's because I have a thing, and it's big arena rock.
Oh, like
shit, I guess.
Actually, that was '90s when he did the Frankenstein song.
Wayne's World, feed my Frankenstein.
But I always actually you're talking like that, like a "Who Do You Think We Are" special, like that song. Or Zipper Catches Skin or something like that.
Or there's what is it? Throw My Gorilla.
Yeah.
Throw My Gorilla.
That's an Alice Cooper song.
Just as an ender for me, because I'm gonna get going soon. I actually have the very first VHS I ever watched. This is the very first. My father bought this, and he was like really psyched at getting a VCR for the first time. So, and he was a big Bruce Lee fan. He actually studied under like one of Bruce Lee's students at the time, and Fred Wren, and he was into that. So he got this, and this was his first tape. So I still have this, the old clamshell, everything. Very first.
That's badass.
I ever saw.
I'll tell you, the very first VHS I remember watching was my mom had a copy of The Wizard of Oz. And then I watched it and wore out so much she bought another one. And when it came on TV, she recorded it, but it was some sort of special that had extra stuff. And I remember for years I'd watched the recorded copy because it had all the old commercials. And for some reason, to me, all that old stuff just resonated. Even as a little kid, I'm like, I remember these commercials when I was little. So I watched that. And then after that, there was one more. And it was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. My dad brought home the original movie, and I'm like, oh, and yeah, I killed that one, and probably went through another copy of that at least.
I had that tape, and I remember the advertising for Pizza Hut where it was about the right fielder kid, and they
God!
And I heard that song over and over.
I'm trying to think of the song right now. Hold on, don't go nowhere. You gotta let me pull it up. I'm gonna pull it up right now. It's in my head right now. The about it's right field. I can't say it right now.
I play right field. It's important, you know.
You gotta know how to catch You gotta know how to throw.
Yeah. Yeah, you're on mute, Mo.
Here we go. I think I found it. You ready?
Yes, that'll. See, that's nostalgia right there.
Bro.
A friend of mine, we were in the Mystery
What
Science
could it
Theater, we did
be?
that. We actually riffed on that song.
Right here. And a baseball falls into my glove. That's it. That's it.
You're
Yeah,
muted,
this is right before the Ninja Turtles every time.
Yes, I remember that VHS.
Dandelions grow. Sounds like a Randy Travis song or something. Way out where the dandelions grow. Mo, you're on mute.
Yep, mute.
You should definitely propose that to the Neon Chrome guys as something that you guys should cover.
That would be
Way
like,
out where the dandelions grow.
I remember when like Less Than Jake did a cover of the Laverne and Shirley theme. It was hilarious.
Well, and covers like that can bring more awareness to the original shit too.
Yeah.
If Neon Chrome, if you guys did that, that's gonna hit like half the audience right in the nostalgia feels.
Oh, that's something you do like at like a show at the end, like you're all up there and then everybody's like high on you, like, yeah.
You know how last year's Metro Metal Fest ended?
Wasn't there, so no.
It was a well, I figured that much, but it was a cover of God. Now I'm gonna brain fart.
I plan on being there though, dude. I really do.
Making my way downtown. That song.
Walking fast, feeling blast like a vagina.
Yes.
I don't know what the song is.
I can't remember the name of the song, but it was they literally did a whole cover of that, and they had the whole crowd waving pool noodles, just going ape shit. And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, sometimes a good cover could just really rock the whole thing. If it's something nostalgic or something. I mean, when Corno Macabre did that cover of Paint It Black, it was like, hard punk. It was just, you couldn't understand what the lyrics were, but you didn't need to because you knew exactly what was going on with it.
Exactly, yeah.
That was just
there's ways it goes perfect, and there's ways I've seen it not go well. I remember there was this band, and I'm not going to say who it is because it's years ago, like over a decade ago, maybe a decade and a half, but they did a cover of I Will Survive, and they tried to do that same thing, and it just didn't come off well. People are like, why are they playing this?
It can happen.
Gotta catch the right thing.
It does.
So
gotta catch that right thing.
We got your band Neon Chrome. You guys got some shows coming up. You want to talk about any of those?
Yeah, let me pull my little. I got a cheat sheet here on my page.
I got a cheat sheet right there for you. May 3rd.
Hey, look at you right there, May 3rd. We played May 3rd at the Local 31. That was a good show. We were playing May 31st at the Alibi Bar in Grants Pass, 8:30 p.m. June 14th. Mo, I can't thank you enough for that. Wow. Holy shit.
Y'all got like an
June
online
14th.
presence? Sorry.
We do. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram, Neon Chrome Official, and then Facebook, look up Neon Chrome. Just don't get us confused with the video game. I hope we don't have to change our band name eventually because that would suck. But June 14th, we'll be at Honky Tonk. It's a benefit for CASA, court-appointed special
Rocky
advocates.
Tonk, you meant to say. Rocky Tonk.
Yeah, Rocky Tonk. I said Ronky Tonk, didn't I?
You said Honky Tonk.
Oh, ronky tonk. I'm a honky tonk man.
Yeah, we've all been infused with that.
I'm cool. I'm
rhythm
cocky.
and
I'm
blues.
bad. Yeah, no, we'll be at the Rocky Tonk, and we're gonna rock their Wranglers off. It's gonna be for a benefit show for court-appointed special advocates, and never got to do anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and then Josh is also part of something called the Metal Mixtape, which broadcasts, every date that they specify live on KSQ.
We're live every
94.1, is it? In
89.5 89.5 FM Ashland, Oregon, 94.1 Medford, Oregon, streaming online at kskq.org.
Awesome.
And my buddy, before I get off that subject, Omar Rodriguez, the dude who got me into this, I can't thank him enough, man. Like, straight up, like, I've talked to JJ French from Twisted Sister, George Lynch from Dawkins, Wolf Hoffman from Accept, Rudy Sarzo from Quiet Riot, and just not Lita Ford, seen her live, but Doro Pesh. I've got to talk to people that I wouldn't imagine this lifetime I'd get to talk to. But I've sat in a car in the middle of RCC parking lot in White City, sweating my ass off talking to these people, and it blows my mind. So yeah, tune into the Metal Mixtape. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it's blown my mind over the years watching you do that with just absolute legends,
I got no words to describe how it feels, because like I said, when we talked to Rudy, it was just like, holy crap, this is the guy that played on Metal Health, the album that kickstarted 80s metal.
Oh yeah.
But no, man, I appreciate you giving me the plug and the hookup and all that, and it's just good being here, man, talking about a movie that holy shit, I'm surprised I haven't watched more.
Dude, it's a pleasure having you.
I appreciate it.
What do we got here? Sorry.
You found the baby. Yeah, we did, Highbrow.
Yes, indeed. Yes, I agree about having a board game.
What's that?
Yeah, Alice Cooper went through a lot of cool phases. I mean, he even went through he went through a metal phase for a while at the towards the early 2000s as well. I remember that, which was pretty cool. He was trying to he went through a lot of different genres, which I always thought was pretty cool. The man liked to experiment. And
most definitely.
Which is kind of weird because the real man's kind of almost country club like, if you know nowadays.
Oh, he golfs like a motherfucker. You may as well call him Happy Gilmore.
I believe this is what you're referring to, Brandon. Yeah,
Yep.
That sounds awesome. Hillside board game.
You need to have like part of the group play the survivors and the other side play the cannibals, and see who can win.
They've kind of already done it, I think, with the Texas Chainsaw Slaughterhouse game. I haven't played it yet, but I've heard that's pretty much what it is. Still a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely.
So yeah, definitely check us out online. You got anything you want to plug, Brandon, before we get out of here?
Well, if y'all get a chance, SRS is now stocking my movie Amityville webcam. It's kind of but I make a little bit more money off of Kanaki if they get it, but it's easier to find on SRS. So, if you want to grab a DVD or a Blu-ray and support the cause of independent cinema from somebody who is trying out his directing chops for the first time, you can go right ahead. We're one episode away from finishing Tabletop Horror Season 1, which is going to be pretty cool, where we cover movies related to RPGs, RPG gaming, and that's going to be a pretty cool series once that gets rolling. So, but I want to have the full first season done.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. I've seen a couple of just sneak peeks on episodes and things like that.
Hey, we covered Skullduggery on this channel.
We did. Yeah, Skullduggery. Good times. All right, so that's been it for this week's episode of Classic Cutz, baby. Hopefully next time we can get Cody in here, a couple other people. Who knows? But I've enjoyed this. Have you guys enjoyed this?
It's been a thrill. Bro, I just realized we've been on here for 2 hours. It didn't even seem like it. So I enjoyed the hell out of this. Thank you. Both of you.
Yeah. Thank you for coming, man.
Good meeting you, man. I'm gonna have to hear that stuff that y'all's band's putting together now.
Yeah, check us out. We're there, and then look me up on Facebook if you want. I'm Josh York.
Night all.
Like the peppermint patty.